Today I am super excited to share a super easy yeast roll recipe with you. This is a recipe that I probably stumbled upon maybe 2 weeks ago. I was making dinner one night and I thought, I wish we had some kind of bread to go with this. How hard would it be to make some rolls? And I was looking online and some of the recipes were for an hour, and I thought, well, maybe if I had planned ahead and started sooner. Then I found this recipe for 30-minute yeast rolls. And I looked at it, I even texted it to my mom, and it's like, is this really gonna work? This seems too good to be true. It seems too easy, but it's an awesome recipe. It does work and it's super tasty. Now, I am by no means an expert on baking bread. I actually just recently started baking bread. For probably the last year and a half, maybe close to 2 years, I just kept thinking, I wish I could make our own bread for me and my husband. And I would buy some at the grocery store, and we usually just would not end up eating it all, and I felt bad always throwing it out at the end of the week. And then of course it's not always super healthy for you, and I just never could seem to get it in the routine to make bread. And then something about this year, I have just had more time and been able to do that, and so I discovered this 30-minute yeast roll recipe to add to my bread arsenal, and I'm just very excited to share it with you. So first, I want to just look over the ingredients. I am going to leave the link to the recipe in the description below. I will also just type out what I've got wrote down here, but I'll go over the ingredients with you first, and then I'll show you how to make it. So this is the recipe, and it really couldn't be easier. A few things I want to point out though before we get started. I like to use avocado oil. I think the recipe called for just neutral flavored oil. We do not like to use seed oils like vegetable oil or corn oil or canola oil. So I do use avocado oil for this. You could probably use olive oil, but I would use a light tasting olive oil so your rolls didn't taste too much like olive oil. I like to use the Florida Crystals raw cane sugar, and then for the salt, we use pink Himalayan salt, and that seems to work fine in this recipe. The first thing we're going to do is combine the water, oil, yeast, and sugar in a bowl, and we're going to let it rest for 10 minutes. I like the water to be just warm enough that it's not about to burn me, but any more and it would probably be uncomfortable for my hand to be under there, and that has always worked for me. So this is the 1 cup and 2 tablespoons of water. 2 tablespoons of yeast, and this is the kind of yeast that I like to use. Then we've got our 1/3 cup of avocado oil and the 1/4 cup of sugar. I like to stir this together just a little bit to get it somewhat incorporated before it rests. I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes and I will meet you back here. That's my timer. It's been setting for 10 minutes and you can see how bubbly the yeast is. So now I'm going to add in salt, egg, and flour. There's the salt. For this next part, before I add in the flour, I like to just go ahead and get a cutting board with flour on it. So that way I will be ready to knead. I like to stir in the egg and the salt just a little bit before I start adding the flour. So this is 3½ cups of the bread flour. I like to just mix it in the bowl until it kind of becomes hard to handle, and then I usually start to use my hands after that. At this point, I usually like to just start using my hands because it just becomes super hard to stir with a spatula there. And then what I like to do is you can just kind of scrape down and put what's left onto the bread itself. Move this back into frame where you can actually see it there. I already had flour on the cutting board here. I'll add some more if I need to, but from there, I just start kneading it. And I think the recipe says knead it I guess just until soft and kind of cohesive. I don't know if it gave a minute amount per se, but you kind of just gotta knead it until it's got the right feel. I think this is getting close. So to me, that looks pretty good. You can tell it doesn't look so papery anymore, and it's just all kind of one cohesive ball. It's kind of soft looking. So I just greased my pan. The recipe calls for a 9x13 pan. I'm not sure if this is 9x13, it might be bigger, but I know they will fit on it. This does not have to rise one time and then you pinch out the rolls. You just pinch them out immediately, then they will sit for 10 minutes and they're ready to bake. I love this recipe because it's so fast and so easy. So I'm gonna pinch this out into about 12 balls. It's okay if you end up with less or more, just whatever size you want your rolls to be. And what I like to do, my mama taught me this, is I like to just push to the back. Kind of pull from the front, like with my thumbs, and just kind of push to the back until I get it folded in there. Then I usually kind of just pinch it together and kind of shape it with your hand if you need. And then you have this nice little round shape. And they don't have to be perfectly shaped. As long as they're somewhat round, they're gonna turn out fine. So now I'm going to cover these with a little tea towel and they're going to set for 10 minutes. I've already got the oven up to 400, so I'm going to let these set on top of the stove here where it's nice and warm. So that was our 10 minutes. You can tell that these rise a little bit during that 10 minutes, but now they are ready to go in the oven. And again, the oven's at 400 degrees and these are going to go for about 10 or 15 minutes. Just depends on your oven. These did go the full 15 minutes, and you can tell they kind of get a little bit of a crust on the top, and then you can see that they do on the bottom as well. The very first time I ever cooked these, I cooked them just about 10 minutes because I saw a little bit of browning on the top, and then I felt like perhaps they were a little doughy on the inside, so it does seem to help to cook them for the full 15 minutes. I'm going to get them on this wire rack, and then when they cool, I'll taste one and tell you what it's like. So this is what it looks like. Like I said, it's nice that you get this kind of crust on the bottom and the crust on the top. But then it's really soft on the inside. So I'm gonna put some butter in here and give it a try. Now it's time to test this out. That's good. It's very good, and like I said, it's got this crust on the bottom and the top, and then it's super soft on the inside. It definitely tastes like a yeast roll. It's got a very kind of yeasty taste, but in a good way. It tastes very good. Overall, I am very pleased with this recipe. I've made it several times. It's so nice that it's so easy on a weeknight for dinner if you want to make something like this. And then since it does make about 12, you're definitely going to have leftovers. So I have thoroughly enjoyed this recipe. I hope that you will try it and that you will love it too. You'll have to leave me a comment if you do. As always, thank you for watching. God bless you, God keep you, and I will see you on the next video.